Stater Brother Markets is a privately held supermarket chain that started in 1936. Thank you for your suggestions.
It's an American tradition, a butcher there to help you, to trim up special cuts a butcher's way.
Can I help you? At Stater Brothers, the biggest difference isn't just what's in our meat case, but who's behind it. Your Stater Brothers butcher, to make sure you get just the cut you want, to put quality and value right where it counts.
Yeah, at Stater Brothers, there's a difference you can tell, an American tradition that serves your family well.
Stater Brothers was founded by twin brothers Cleo and Leo Stater in 1936. At the time, 24-year-old Cleo was working at a small grocery store in Yucaipa, California, earning 10 cents an hour to man a cash register, stack the shelves, work the meat counter, and sweep the floor. The owner, W.A. Davis, told the young man that he was willing to sell the store to Cleo and Leo for $10,000. Because they did not have the money, he would further accommodate them by accepting just $600 down and the balance through $300 monthly payments. With their cars serving as collateral, the brothers were able to borrow $300. Cleo decided to take a chance and he approached rival grocery store owner as well as the richest and meanest man in town, D.M. Holsinger, to ask him for a loan. He got that loan, and the brothers opened for business in August of 1936. The area east of Los Angeles, known as the Inland Empire, was not an attractive market at the time. The LA chains didn't want to serve this area. This was cement plant country and a railroad town, very blue collar. So the Stater brothers developed their own niche. Frugality on a number of levels also became a watchword for the brothers. In the midst of a Great Depression of the 1930s, it was difficult to meet the monthly $300 payments. As a result, they agreed to avoid credit and pay for everything with cash. In this way, they would buy only what they truly needed. At the same time, they were committed to providing their primarily working-class customers with the lowest possible prices, leading to the company's motto, the low price leader in your hometown. This approach quickly proved successful as the Staters began to expand their operation in San Bernardino County. In 1937, they opened a grocery store in Redlands, followed in the next 2 years by stores in Bloomington, Colton, and Fontana. The Staters' careers were interrupted in the 1940s by America's entry into World War II. While they were serving as Army Air Corps pilots, their parents, Clarence and Mary, were forced to step in to run the business. As a matter of necessity, in order to keep all the stores in operation, they sold half interest to each store manager, a move that made sense at the time, but would later cause legal problems. Upon their discharge from the service, the Stater twins returned to business and were joined by another brother, Lavoy Stater. During the post-war years of the late 1940s, as the baby boom generation was born and their parents moved en masse to new suburban housing developments, grocers began to open larger formats, supermarkets, which were actually modest in size compared to the most contemporary stores. Stater Brothers' first entry into the new era of grocery retailing came in April of 1948 when they opened a 12,500 square foot supermarket in Riverside. Above the store was an apartment where some of the Stater family lived. This state-of-the-art store featured air conditioning, fluorescent lighting, and music playing over the PA system. Cleo Stater recounted, "We opened that store, stocked it, and we sold practically everything in the first day. They gave us an idea that we had to start expanding fast, which we did. For about 2 or 3 years, we were making 100% return on our investment." With this steady cash flow, the brothers were able to grow without taking on debt. Each new store essentially funded the next, which was paid for by the time it was opened. During the 1950s, none of their stores featured coffee shops to offer dining to their customers. One of the two San Bernardino stores included a restaurant on the second-floor balcony overlooking the shoppers. In 1958, Stater Brothers was incorporated, and all but 5 of the partnerships were dissolved, and the store managers were bought out with either cash or stock. It was not until 1964 that all of the stores were brought into the fold. In the 1960s, Stater Brothers grew with the communities it served: Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. All 3 were among the fastest-growing urban counties in the United States. Because all of the chain's growth was internal, the company formed a construction division in 1960 to plan and build new supermarkets and other facilities. By the end of 1967, the chain operated 32 supermarkets located in 20 cities. The restaurant division was closed in July of 1967. At this stage, the chain did not own a dairy or bakery operation, but it was involved in a growing private label business, offering such products as coffee, cheese, salad oils, and soaps. A year later, in 1968, ownership of the chain was passed out of family hands. Deciding it was time to exit the grocery business, the brothers sold the chain to Long Beach-based Petrolane Inc. for stock and approximately $32 million. At the close of 1970, the chain was 38 units strong and on the verge of reaching the $100 million mark in annual revenues. 3 years later, the chain comprised of 49 stores. By the end of the 1970s, there was 83 Stater Brothers stores, and sales were in the $450 million range. Although Petrolane was quick to invest in new store openings, it was slow in introducing technology to the operation, which hurt profitability. It was not until 1977 that the company's accounts payable system was computerized, the first step in the chain. Scanning was introduced in 1979. In 1983, Petrolane decided to sell most of its non-energy assets, including the Stater Brothers supermarket chain. An investor group paid $110 million to acquire the business. During that time, an internal power struggle ensued and the company went public and then went private a brief time later. Emerging from the struggle, Jack Brown headed up Stater Brothers Holdings, a subsidiary of Cadena Investments, owned by Brown himself. President and CEO Jack H. Brown would run the company for 35 years. By the 1990s, Stater Brothers was generating more than $1 billion in annual revenues, but as one of the only a handful of locally owned and relatively small grocery chains, it faced a challenging retail environment. During much of the 1990s, the chain added only a handful of new stores, 4 in fiscal 1992, 2 in 93, and 3 in 94, while just 4 replacement stores were replaced. In 1996, Stater Brothers launched a $20 million renovation project that would enlarge and modernize 83 of the chain's 110 stores, the most aggressive program of its kind for the chain since Brown took over. Stater Brothers increased by 43 stores in 1999 when it became the beneficiary of a merger between supermarket chains Albertsons and American Stores Company, parent of Lucky Grocery chain. The two companies were ordered to divest a significant number of stores before the merger could be completed. As a result, Stater Brothers was able to acquire 33 Albertsons and 10 Lucky supermarkets, many of which were located in areas where Stater Brothers was hoping to expand. Brown called it a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence for the company. At a cost of $147.2 million, Stater Brothers virtually doubled its presence in Los Angeles County and Orange County. All told, the Stater Brothers chain of supermarkets grew to 155 locations. Although it was the largest locally owned independent chain, Stater Brothers hardly measures up in size to the national chains like Kroger, Ralph's, and Albertsons that had a strong presence in the Southern California market. When Brown met with executives from the big three chains in 2002 to discuss a strategy for upcoming contract talks with union employees, he was placed in a difficult position. The big three wanted concessions on health, pension, and salary benefits, and were determined to take a hard line. Because the Southern California market represented a small percentage of their national business, they could ill afford to wait out a strike or initiate a lockout. The only private company involved, Stater Brothers, operated entirely in Southern California and could not afford a major loss of business. Brown was also advised that his employees had taken a vote, and 100% voted not to strike Stater Brothers. In turn, he pledged not to lock out the union and took the unusual, and in the opinion of many, brilliant step of accepting up front whatever agreement the union and the big three eventually would settle on. When talks broke down in the fall of 2003, leading to a supermarket strike that began on October 11th, Stater Brothers was able to pick up an unprecedented amount of additional business. Not only was it a temporary windfall for the company, it was expected that at the end of the strike, a large percentage of the new shoppers would remain Stater Brothers customers. In 2004, Stater Brothers gained approval to build a new $200 million general office and distribution center on part of the former Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino County. The new state-of-the-art distribution center would consolidate the operations of 8 facilities, and the resulting efficiencies would expect to have saved the chain millions of dollars. In January of 2016, Pete Van Helden was appointed president and chief executive, and Brown became executive chairman of the board of directors. Brown died on November 13, 2016. In December, former CFO Philip Smith was elected chairman. Smith was also elected chairman, president, and CEO of Stater Brothers Holdings. In 2019, Stater Brothers gave itself a facelift for its 83rd birthday. The supermarket chain, with all 172 stores in California, unveiled a new store logo featuring a modern font that's replacing the 1970s era look. Today, there are over 170 locations. Through its Inland Empire base, stores are concentrated heavily throughout San Bernardino and Riverside counties in Southern California. In Los Angeles and Orange County, stores are mainly in communities east of the San Gabriel River. A few stores are also located in northern areas of San Diego County and parts of northern Los Angeles County, such as Santa Clarita and Palmdale, as well as Pasadena. There's also one store in Ventura County, located in Simi Valley. Also, there are 2 stores in Kern County, located in Ridgecrest and Mojave. So what are your favorite memories of this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. Thanks for watching.